Did someone say it's Dr. Doom time? Because I think it is. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about our new chest, how it's all fully nicely painted. We're also going to be talking about the rest of our mannequin, the rest of our cape, and all of the little bits and pieces. So we're doing our painting stage in our Fantastic Four Dr. Doom bust. So let's get started. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Luke, and this is part 2 of our Dr. Doom Silver Surfer bust episode series. Now, if you haven't seen the first episode, I'd recommend you watch that, because we're going to be we talk about what files we use, the cape patterns, what materials we use in our cape, ordering all our little bits and pieces, and sort of getting a rough fitment of this sort of chest bust, and doing some little file modifications as well. But in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the rest of our mannequin, which you can see just off camera here. We're going to be talking about our little pants as well, because, well, they arrived. We're going to be talking about the neck, because Dio finished modeling it for us. Thank you again, Dio 3D. And then we're going to be talking about how we painted this beautiful piece, with the whole thing being an Alumuluster, of course, sealed in MS2K clears, because, well, why not? So, without further ado, let's start talking about the new upgrades of our chest and our pants and our cape. Alright, so I'm trying to stay in the shot for this, but basically I want to talk about the cape. Now, obviously in that first video, we talked about what cape materials we used and what patterns we used as well. But so from then on, I have gotten this thing overlocked by a friend. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. But I'm really happy with how it's looking so far. Now, I know that I said that we're not going to be cutting this, but seeing that I don't think I'm going to be wearing this, I really want to do another Doom suit that I will be wearing when the Doomsday suit comes out. So for this, it's going to be at a display, so we are going to be cutting the cape. Which also means I've had to cut this base plate so we can get it in the right proportion, sort of let that cape drape. But I'm not going to be cutting it till later. I sort of want to get everything in the right spot before we cut it, because the last thing I want to do is be cutting this cape too short. So enough from the cape. We'll talk about that in our other video when we sort of sort the rest out. But since then on, we do actually now have a mannequin for this thing, which is really good. Now, if we disassemble this, I'm going to show you how I sort of prepped this thing together. Now, in that last video, we ordered that mannequin shell. Only problem is I did think it was a full body one, so it had a back, but it doesn't. So we've had to do a little bit of modifying. So essentially what I have done, because it is just a top body, I'll try and spin this round. As you can see, it is seriously just blank openness in there. So essentially what I've done is I have just filled it with bubble wrap, just to sort of give it a little bit of fluff out the back, but we don't really need that. Now, for the black, that is just a black morph suit. I have popped it on. I have not cut it to size. I have just sort of tied it in with one another and made it work. But essentially, I have just taken a really nice cheap chipboard, plywood sort of base, and I've just cut it to the same size as whatever my shelving units are, just because I wanted it to sit somewhere. But I am going to be painting this. This is going to be a later problem. I do have to take all the stuff off just to do some final modifications to these pants. But I'm happy with how this sits on our base. I did need a little bit of a chock of wood just to sort of get things in the right spot, but depending on which mannequin you purchase, it'll be different for each one. And I did also then end up screwing a dowel. So I believe this is a 30 mil dowel in diameter, and I've taken it so that we can place our helmet on the top, because the neck, it didn't come with a head, which we knew, and the neck was a bit odd shaped, so we've made a dowel. Essentially, this dowel just goes all the way down and screws straight into the base. I did have to cut a hole in the pants as well to make this thing work. And then I did also, just because this thing was really flimsy and lightweight, like it's quite strong, rigid plastic, but it does like to sort of bend a little easier and was really tipping forward. When I screwed this dowel in, I also mounted a screw, if I can get this round, mounted a screw just here, and that's going to go through the head into the dowel. Just gives a lot more support and structure. But like I said, you've got to play around with depending on which mannequin you get. If you do it the same as me, do it my way. But if you get a different sort of one, maybe it's got flat feet, I don't know. Or maybe if you can find one with a full body, that will work as well. So the things I do want to do with this is paint this black, because I think it'll look 1,000 times better. I'll just use like some wall painter's paint. We won't use any spray paint for this. I'm too lazy to do that. But then we might also need to move this forward. I'm noticing I've very mounted it back, and my shoulder flap pieces keep hitting this wall. So we've got to tweak that, but we can tweak that when we paint it. That's not a now problem. I'm happy with our morph suit. I think it looks really, really good. And when we start like assembling the arms on, like it looks really good. Here's an assembled photo of it when it actually was working. Now the other things I do want to talk about is our pants. They have arrived. And then I cut them instantly. Now, I got these things off of Shein. I can't remember if I talked about in the last video, but this is what they look like. And essentially, these were the pants I found to be the closest to what we needed. Now, we do have to do a little bit of painting. We do have to do like a V-stripe sort of situation at the front, and then I think a bit of stitching down the side just to sort of make it look realistic. But I'm happy with them. I've put a baby pin here. I've got to bring the thing across and stitch it up the top, and then I'm going to stitch it down the front and stitch these pockets just so that I don't have to have these pins, because without the pin you'll see the button. I really don't want to see the button. And for me, I just measured it and cut it. The waist doesn't start till here. I went a bit over so it sort of overlaps under the armor. I just think it looks better. And then I've just cut the long bits off. I might either overlock these or just simply fold it over and stitch it around just so we don't get any pilling. But it's made of pleather, so it's not really gonna fray or anything. So maybe I'll just leave it. But other than that, pretty happy with our little mannequin. He's getting there. Obviously, if I had the option, I do have a mannequin just off camera here, but I'm using that for all of my clay and silicone sort of stuff. And I'm a bit bummed by that because I really like to use it, but at this stage, I think this thing works really well. We can find another mannequin when we do our doomsday suit. So that's pretty much it with our mannequin. We've just cut it and shaped it. And when our neck, wait, let me grab the neck. This is our neck. Now these files aren't available as of yet, but Dio is going to be doing these, and the arms are part of this file set, just in case you want to actually make the Fantastic Four Silver Surfer version. But I just basically welded the two magnet points together. I did have to cut a fair bit of my neck just so it fit in nicely. But once we get it on, it looks really, really good. It is covered in primer. It's still at its priming sort of stage, but I'm really happy with how it works. And we'll talk about the sort of buckles and the fitment in the next episode. But that's pretty much it for our bust. Pants, easy. Lycra suit, easy. Mannequin, easy. Base, we'll paint, and it's easy. We'll move it forward in the next episodes. So next thing we need to really talk about is our paint, which is not hard at all. It's just we need to make it absolutely perfect. All right, so it is time to talk about the paint, and it's going to be pretty much the exact same as the mask that we did in another video. Now, before we deep dive into all of that, we need to prep all of our parts for the paint. So if you are interested in that, leave a link down in the description for my YouTube tutorial on sanding and prepping your parts ready for paint. But essentially, we're gonna hit the whole thing in a 80 grit sandpaper with an electric sander and knock down all of the big lines. And in seeing how flat this thing is, you can just zoom through this incredibly fast. Then we're gonna hit it with some 180, we're gonna do a bit of wet sanding, we're gonna do a guide coat, bit more primer, bit more wet sanding, until we get it to this, where it is incredibly smooth. And I won't lie, it is one of my better sanding jobs, but I think I had to do that in order to make this thing glossy. But I think I sanded this whole thing within about a week. But the first thing we are going to do is lay down a MS2K Black by Concept Paints. Now, if you've been following my channel for a little bit now, you all always know that I use an Elasa 2K Gloss Black, but we're actually switching it up now. I found this, which is an MS2K Black. Now, this is the same as our clear coat, which I'll talk about, but it is a 2K High Gloss Black. So it is the exact same paint, pretty much, as our Elasa 2K Gloss Black. The only difference being this is a 2:1 ratio, whereas the Elasa is a 4:1 ratio. Now, I won't get into too much of the details of the science behind it, but I basically made a piece, which is a Black Panther one, which we'll talk about next week. I needed it to be really even, and I noticed when I put some light underneath that, well, half the paint was really uneven. You'd have darker spots and lighter spots, and it didn't really actually work the best. Now, yes, you could say I could do a second coat with a 4:1, but it doesn't. It's just what the 4:1's ratio is. It's really picky. So we're transferring over to the MS2K Black. This thing is a dream. So we're gonna spray nice even coat the first time, sort of dusting it on, getting it really nice and set into the piece so we don't get any orange peel or any peel. And we're gonna drench these pieces into some black, making sure it doesn't run, but we are going to get this thing to a beautiful gloss black. And as you can see in this, it looks amazing. So once that's done, we're gonna let it dry for a couple of days. The next thing we're gonna do is go in with some steel wool. Now this steel wool is what's gonna give us sort of this brushed metal effect. I'll do a close-up as you can see here, but basically we're gonna scratch this all the way down the pieces like so. And what this is doing is scratching itself into the paint. When we apply our Alumuluster and our clear, it'll seal it and shine it, and it'll look like a brushed metal, which I really, really love this effect. I think it looks really good. Some people will do it during the Alumuluster stage, some people might put it on the clear coat, but it's totally up to you. I much prefer to do it on the black. And we're gonna do that over the same part, making sure to go in the same direction. So for the abs, don't go this way and your chest go this way. Make sure it is all going uniformed down. It looks 1,000 times better. Then once that's done, it's time for the Alumuluster stage. We're gonna load this up at a 0.8mm nozzle at 20 PSI, making sure not to spray too heavy. I did accidentally make that mistake, and it is not the perfect Alumuluster. It's slightly dulled, and that was just me being really pushy and not really being as patient. But we're gonna spray really nice even coats, building that up and up and up, and making sure to do a air pass over it that can sort of dry and help the Alumuluster set. But once that's done, you're gonna have a beautiful piece, making sure not to touch this, because if you touch it, well, the Alumuluster might smudge off. But it is pretty strong. The last thing we're going to do to seal and protect all of it is use an MS22 2K clear. This is just an automotive 2K gloss, and it is amazing. 2:1 ratio, meaning we can do a nice guide coat, sort of mist it on, get it set and tacked. Then our second coat, 2 or 3 coats can be nice and wet, getting that thing down. And then the second and third coat can be nice, wet, drenched sort of ones, and will get us this stunning, smooth shine. Now, between all of those stages, you are going to be wanting to use a tack cloth. Now, what a tack cloth essentially does is it's a tacky cloth that we're gonna wipe over all of our parts to make sure there is no dust or debris within our paint. So we're going to say on our primer, wipe this, spray our black. And I always put my stuff into like a little greenhouse. You can pick these up at your local hardware store or garden store or something. But basically what that's gonna do is keep all the dust and the light and the air out to minimize that risk of anything getting on it. If you paint outside, some people, you'll get bugs on it, or if you paint around something else that's being painted at the same time, that dust and debris can get on it. So I recommend putting it either in a room in your house that's really well ventilated, or even put it in a greenhouse. But make sure to use a tack cloth, you're gonna get 1,000 times better result. Now, if you are interested at all, I just used the LPH80 for spraying all of this. The LPH80 is a small touch-up gun used in the automotive industry, but in our case, for its small, compact size, works amazing for doing props and special effects. I've set this up on a 1mm nozzle using my blacks and my clear coats, or some of my FX intercoats or my candies. But when I also need to spray my Alumuluster, this thing can. I just switch out the nozzle, as simple as unscrewing this, unscrewing the back of the needle, and then changing out the nozzle, and then refitting it with the 0.8mm nozzle. And being able to change your needle and nozzle in an HBLP gun is amazing. And then I also just hook it up with a DR1, which is their small compact air compressor, so we can select our size and our pressure and our gauge down at the bottom here, so we can get the absolute perfect finishes. But if you are interested in going all the deep dives and little techniques I use in my LPH80, I'll leave a link down in the description where you can watch that video. But a huge thank you again to Ernesto Water for supporting me, and thank you for supporting in the LPH80 and when we use our airbrush, our eye water and clip. Now the last thing before is we need to talk about our beautiful arms that I'm really happy how they turned out. I didn't do too much modifications to these in the files. I did cut more off because Dio had a really long arm on it, but I'm really happy with how these work. But essentially it's gonna be the same principle of just prepping our parts ready for paint. Then we're gonna spray it in some flat black by MTN. This is their Pro Series, and this paint is amazing. You need to do really light coats though, because you will also find that it runs really easily. I didn't do it on this piece, but when I first used these, it runs easy. I haven't put a clear coat over that. I don't think I need to. I'm really happy with how this looks. And then as for the neck, we will end up just doing the exact same paint. The neck is not 1000% done, but by the end of the video, I'll show you what that looks like because it should be done. But for our arms and our neck, we're using the black. So that's pretty much it for all of the paint resting doom. I'm pretty happy with how we're going so far. We're not going to be talking about any of the buckles in this video. That's going to be next video, which may be around about a couple weeks. But at this stage, really happy with it. So in our first video, we've gone through the files, sort of assembling it, and some of the bits and pieces we needed to change in the files, and also our cape. And then for today, we've gone through our mannequin, we've gone through the cape, the base, the pants, and our paint. So thank you so much for watching this video. We're getting close, which I'm really excited. But other than that, if you are interested in keeping updated to all of how this is going, don't forget to be following me on my Instagram. You can sort of see it because I'm putting little bits and pieces up every now and then. Other than that, I will see you all next week. But this thing is looking so good.